right now. Scary movie, a spooky and spoofy review. Nope. Damn it. That's not it. God, there it is.
What's your favorite scary movie?
This is the last one, so you're going to hear it all the way through.
I like it.
It's exhausting.
But wait, there's more.
Why does he start drooling when he says that? By the way, I never got that.
I don't know. Maybe he's just always slack-jawed because he's always stoned. I'm not sure. That's your guy Shorty though, so I love that.
No, that wasn't Shorty. That was Sean.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
That's a good point.
It's the reveal scene at the end. Yeah, he's being Matthew Lillard essentially, but maybe Matthew Lillard dribble. Can I talk? Drools
there we go.
A little bit.
Maybe that's what it is there. Yeah. That's a good point. Of course, we're talking about Scary Movie. Nick, why don't you hit us with the synopsis of this?
A year after disposing of the body of a man they accidentally killed, a group of dumb teenagers are stalked by a bumbling serial killer.
Yes, this is directed by Keenan Ivory Wayans and written by Shawn and Marlon Wayans. So this is starring Anna Faris as Cindy Campbell, John Abrams as Bobby Prince, who I don't really like in this movie. He kind of, he's supposed to be dirty, but I just don't really like him. He's white trash.
Mm.
Marlon Wayans.
He doesn't move the needle much for me.
Yeah, just I don't know, didn't do it for him. Marlon Wayans as Shorty, Carmen Electra as Drew, Dave Sheridan as Special Officer Doofy, who was a star in this movie by all accounts, or at least as far as I'm concerned. Regina Hall as Brenda, Shannon Elizabeth as Buffy Gilmore, Lachlan Monroe as Greg, Shawn Wayans as Ray, and Sherry O'Terry, another force in this movie, as Gail Hailstorm.
Gail Hailstorm. Yeah.
Actually, when I was in high school, we used to, I believe it was like the biology or chemistry, one of the science teachers used to come over on the announcements, and every month be Gail Storm. She was just Gail Storm, and she would give out these weather-related questions, and if you did, you won like, I don't know, no homework for a day or something like that, or a parking pass in the, teacher's parking lot, something like that, little bit of a gift there. But Gail Storm.
Oh, interesting. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This was in what? This was in
high school.
High school. Oh, wow. Okay.
Good old Bishop Stang.
Yeah, I was gonna say, look at that. Them giving out,
which is weird because I didn't think Catholics believed in science, but here we are.
Like we said, we're at our best there when we do these in the morning.
Yeah, still sharp. All the synapses are firing.
As for the box office and critics' reception, it's undeniable how well this movie did.
This was shocking.
278 million worldwide, 157 million domestic on a $19 million budget. 42 million came in opening weekend. So what we usually talk about, right, is like if in all told, like box office numbers, we think it's like 1.5 times what you actually paid in your breaking even, and that's opening weekend almost there. Crazy. 6.3 out of 10 on IMDb, 51-43 split on Rotten Tomatoes, 4.3 out of 5 on Google reviews, with 83% of Google users liking this movie.
Yeah, so there's pretty much running the gamut there. When you look at the money that this movie brought in, and the particularly the Rotten Tomatoes split there. I mean, it's weird because everyone seems to be in agreement. Like, the critics aren't really going to like this movie. It's not really made for critics, but the 43 audience score seems to be in complete contrast with the 278 million worldwide that it made.
Well, this is one of those things where, well, we're going to get into it with our own grades where there's certain things.
Big differences.
Yes, there are, but I'm trying not to spoil it. So, let's just get into our scores and then we can circle back on this. I'll go first on this one if I may. So I gave this a 50 out of 100. Was quickly reminded why I never rewatched this. I'm pretty sure I've only seen this. This is only my second time in my life I've watched this. A lot of it for me did not age all that well.
Yeah, this is going to be a complete opposite. So you gave your score 50 out of 100, right?
Yes.
I gave this a 91 out of 100. I forgot just how much I love this movie. I remember where I was when I first watched it. I was in with a couple of friends in the neighborhood at Stephanie Florentine's grandmother's house. We're all on the couch there watching this movie. Stupid comedy, but it's self-aware and kind of leans into it as a parody spoof comedy kind of does. Scary Movie might be the pinnacle of this generation's spoof or parody comedies here. Maybe we can unpack that as we get into the review questions here, because I'm not sure if there's anything else. Again, you got Blazing Saddles or there's Spaceballs. I think those are like kind of the first movies when you think of parody comedies or spoofs or that sort of thing. But for this generation,
Yes.
there's not much, right?
It's not deniable. Like whether or how regardless of how I feel about it, it's undeniable. Like this was the pinnacle of it. Or unless you want to say another like scary movie, because I remember we were talking before. Like you remember liking Scary Movie 2 more than this one.
I like Scary Movie 2 a little bit more, but you got to give props for what laid the groundwork for it,
Yes.
right? And this seemed like it really just sparked up the that parody comedy genre a little bit more, almost to a detriment. You talked about Epic Movie, which I didn't see, but I remember what else was there? Not Another Teen Movie, which I think was pretty good. There's Meet the Spartans, which was like
Oh
making
yeah.
fun of the Ben Stiller movies, but also the 300 movies.
Did you
right?
watch that?
I don't think so. I think I've seen parts of it, but at a certain point, it's just like, all right, what are we doing? And then when you get to Scary Movie 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, however many there are, then it's like, all right, that's a little bit of a roadkill there. But I think my three favorite ones are the first two Scary Movies and Not Another Teen Movie.
Okay. Yeah. And for me, like, so again, like this is the peak of it, with, debate within maybe the franchise of which is the best one. But I'm curious, like where we now see the 51-43 split, 6.3, that 6.3 from IMDb, like for a comedy isn't bad.
That's solid, I think. Yeah.
But 51-43, like I'm actually, I was like, okay, 51 from the critics, like makes sense. But when I saw the lower number from the audience, I was a little bit surprised, because I remember how beloved these movies were when we were kids. And this is where, again, like when you go and do, like now you have like you have a comedy come out, like, okay, that's going to get an accurate vote of the times. This, like, again, I don't think it aged well, but
I see what you're doing. Yeah.
Back then it's like, it's again, I still don't like some of this stuff, but it's like it was a different time. So it's just like, what would that have gotten from the audience back then? I don't question that the critic score would have changed.
Yeah, no. That's a good point too, right? If you have to go back and then you're like, all right, let's retroactively score this movie as if we're seeing it for the first time, then yeah, then maybe not. Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're doing, but we're like, what's what we're saying this is. Like we're rewatching this and then we're regrading it and everything like that. But this is like, that's it. Like that's the grade, period. End of discussion. And it's like, I don't know. That's just odd to me.
Yeah, they should have been like some of the other production companies out there and start paying Rotten Tomatoes to inflate their scores.
Yeah, it's like this is why, but this is also like, so this like what you're saying, aside from everything else we just talked about, what you're saying, this is also why, like when it comes to reviews and stuff like that, I always say, like we talk about those numbers, but they're like an aggregate score of a bunch of different people weighing in. Like I think it should matter more. Like find reviewers that you agree with, or you feel similarly to, and then hear what they have to say, because they're gonna give you the read that you need to have going into this movie. It's not just a friggin' number.
Yeah, and it's nice to have, right? It's like you start off with casting a wide net. Like, okay, we get the 53, we get the 61%, 41%, whatever it is. Now let me go down and see, like you said, go to my favorite YouTubers or critics or reviewers and see what they have to say. Podcasters, absolutely. And then see if that aligns there, right? So I think that's not a bad place to start, but maybe not the place you want to end to.
Yes,
right?
100%.
All right, so we got that question, the first question out of the way. First, it was a softball question, right? Just kind of talking a little bit about the where these parody spoof movies kind of rank in our generation here. But we got a two-part opening question. What was the most rewatchable and or funniest scenes from the movie? Because I feel like in a comedy, the rewatchable scenes are going to be kind of the funny bits, right?
Yeah, I don't know why, but I missed the bit of the part about the
Well,
That's
I deleted it retroactively. The first question, what was the funniest scene? I had them as two separate ones originally, and then I was like, that feels like they're kind of the same thing.
gotcha. You know what? Honestly, when you said rewatchable, that's how I was kind of viewing it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I really like Shorty, and for
Mhm.
me, anytime he's on screen, it is funny. But I was trying to think of like a more like fleshed out scene, and pardon the pun because my picks, that's not what I meant.
Oh.
But Brenda's death scene is one that I feel like I saw that before, like 'cause I didn't see this movie right away when I was a kid, but I
Mhm.
feel like I saw it online or something like that before I saw it. So either way, like that one always gets me because it's like I've definitely we've talked about it before. Like we've had like issues in theaters before. I feel like
Mhm.
everybody, if you go enough, you're gonna have some. You never resort to this, but it's kind of funny. Like, yeah, you know what? There's probably some wackos in there who like want to like pop somebody who's being an a-hole in the theater.
But everyone agrees, right? Doesn't everyone take turns stabbing her?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
quite a few people get in on it. So yeah, I that one is my favorite. Again, I mentioned all the Shorty stuff, and then the Carmen Electra scene is also obviously a great opener, and then the Buffy death scene also is one that is that I appreciate. Not as funny, but it's like this, like for me at least now. But it is like this is a commentary on horror stuff, so like
Mhm.
I appreciate it. Like, but I know that leg break thing's coming, and that's what kind of kills me.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll come up a little bit later for me, so I won't touch that right now. But I think Brenda's Destiny. I'm trying to remember. Is that from Scream 2 or Scream 1? What they're spoofing? There's a murder in the theater in like one of these sexy teen drama movies. I can't remember if
I
it's.
don't. Yeah, actually, I genuinely don't know what they're spoofing. If
I
they're like
think
in
it's
that
one of the
moment.
screams, or I know what you did last summer, or I still know one of those things. But I can't put my finger on it. But yeah, I remember that scene being, the original scene being kind of spooky there. So I thought that was well done. I thought Brenda was great throughout this whole movie too. I thought she was a nice addition to it, and she's great in Scary Movie 2, I believe. I think she does come back for that. Maybe
Okay,
maybe I'm confusing my black female leads
I
here.
can't help you
So
there.
I don't know, but I agree. The Carmen Electra's opening scene is a great way to start. And it's fun, right off the bat, kind of ripping off Drew Barrymore and screaming there. You get the nice Prince reference. You got her running through the grass and the sprinklers, and then getting her breast implant stabbed out.
Not just the Prince reference, but I thought they were talking about Dennis Rodman, and I forgot. Like that was one I completely forgot that
Oh
part of the
yeah,
scene. Yeah,
but I also wonder if she also slept with Prince.
I mean, she said it in the movie that she did, so maybe she
Yeah,
did. I can't.
but both of them were like, where it was like, I forget what the exact wording was, but it was like, you guy who wears dresses all the time or something like that. So they
Yeah,
both
like
kind of had that vibe.
yeah. I'm trying to see if I can find that right now. So
But then,
continue.
but what's great too is that the father and mother end up playing a role in her untimely death, getting a little roadhead there, not paying attention to the road.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, oh, see, he's asleep at the wheel. It's like I get when I watched it. I'm like this. I know this is a spoof. Again,
Yeah.
certain things I forget, but I'm like, I know this is a spoof, but like, he's asleep at the wheel? And that's like, oh no. Okay, never mind.
Oh no. Okay, I gotcha.
But it looks like they did date. Her and Prince did date.
Yeah. Okay, I feel like Prince is not really a relationship type guy.
Maybe
I
not.
feel like date is like a very loosely used term in this situation.
Yeah, while she was getting her footing in the music world, Prince was helping
Oh,
Prince
she was a
with
double
something
threat. Good for
Carmen
her.
Electra Providence, blah blah blah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, I controlled everything, but he.
Oh, you just froze up on me there a little bit there. So hopefully we get Nick back, but we'll
My
get
bad. Am I here?
no, you're back. You're good there. Just a quick froze, but my other favorite scene, rewatchable funniest scene is inside the police station right after the first attack from Ghostface there. So you got the chief showing Cindy bikini photos as if they're like as if they're like witness photos, and I think that's really just I find him to be hilarious because he's like, wait, one more time, this last one, no. It's just
Yeah,
like him
yeah,
in like a very high
yeah.
strung red bikini. I don't know, that's
Yeah.
good. And she's like, no,
Is it? It was in a speedo because
speedo bikini,
yeah,
yeah,
but
bikini
it's like,
bottoms,
but
yeah.
yes, it was. Yeah, they're basically the same thing. But yeah, that was like, yeah, that you're right. There's a list where I should have put him on, and I think that he may retroactively win it, at least we're maybe in time. But anyways, that was awesome. Like he's when he asks that second one, and she's like, no, he's like, well, worth a shot. Like,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
no, I don't think it was.
Just wanted to be sure there. And then
Yeah.
in the beginning, when Cindy comes in, it's the police chief and the principal talking about Cindy's mother. And
Yeah.
he's like, you remember the one, right? And they're like making all these like sexual gestures. And then she
Yep.
just comes in and it's like, that's really funny.
Yep.
You also get Special Officer Doofy in there with the hey Jimmy, smell my finger. Oh, what's that? It's my ass.
Yeah.
Back and forth with that. I think that's hysterical. And then at the end, right at the end of that scene, you get Cindy saying, telling everyone that Doofy uses a vacuum cleaner to pleasure himself at night. So that's all that stuff. That's just a big crescendo for me. So I love that opening scene.
That is a big one, yeah. But for me, it was primarily the chief because but the lewd that guy, the principal, his voice, he's like one of those voices that like it's got to be another like
kind of that guy. Like, oh, I recognize him, huh?
But yeah, I think as a voice actor, he's that guy because I have no, I didn't try to place him by any stretch. I don't want to try and go down that road, but yeah, he was a voice that was like very familiar to me.
And I know we're just shortly removed from our Beetlejuice spooky review where I was like, I wasn't crazy about all the suicide jokes here. When he's making the suicide attempt off the top of the school, and you have Cindy saying, what are you waiting for? Spoofing the, I know what you did last summer. And he's like, what am I waiting for? Fuck you. And then he jumps up. Like, that's funny to me. I don't know why. Maybe because it's all more of a lighthearted type of environment that it feels more play, or maybe the idea of jumping off a building feels more common, that you kind of see it more or it doesn't feel as like violent maybe as slitting your wrist and then showing like, I don't know what that disconnect is for me, but it feels more palatable for me for some reason.
No, I think that's not to I see where you're coming from on that and that was a little bit what are you waiting for? I was like, oh geez, yeah, okay, I know. I see right away where that's going.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought that was fun, and this scene might come up a little bit later. This is honorable mention. I think it's hilarious. Was the whole Miss Man locker room scene. I thought that was very funny. It goes back to my childhood where I would say this to my friends all the time. What do feminine odors got you down? Which I think is very hilarious to me. The other one is invite friends into the house and be like, come sit down, take off your bra if you like. Come on. It's like that stuff is very, very funny to me.
The subtle, I will like that. So that's not like that scene's going to come up for me. Well, that's one that I didn't like as much. I'm not like going to keep teasing it, but I do think that like the acting that's done, like the subtle jabs, like the subtle comments, like that was like you're hit like with a whirlwind of like one-liners in that.
Yeah. There's a lot packed in there for sure. Maybe that was a poor choice of words there. But what is aged the best from this movie, Nick? Do you want me to go first? Because I feel like your list might be short given your score.
There's actually a pun in there that I think you kind of made too. But yes,
that was back to back. I didn't even mean to do that there.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, yeah, you go ahead.
The bit of Shawn doing obviously gay things, but then denying being gay, that never gets old to me. Everything they're like, wait. He's like, again, in the locker rooms, in the shower scene, he's like whipping everyone, he's slapping everyone's butt. They finish up football practice. He's like, can't wait to get to the shower scene. They're making out in the back seat of the car when they kill that guy, and he's got his hands on Greg's butt. He tries to get Brenda to dress like a football player, and then he immediately flips her over when they're ready to get into the throes of things. They're all that subtle stuff is very funny. I think it ages very well, just from the fact you look at a character like Tobias Funke in Arrested Development, or Mac and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Those bits I think just really work, and it's just like, no, what's going on, man? I'm just me, and it's great. Like if you think about Arrested Development, you have Jason Bateman saying, he's like, you know what you should do? You should just carry a recorder and then listen back to what you say. You might be surprised. So it's like kind of like one of those situations. But I do like, this is a bit of a smaller point, but Cindy running off like a weirdo at random times. I don't know if you caught this, but she would just leave with her hands like and legs flailing in the air for like a random situation. And that again always gets me. And sometimes I'll just do that, like just to be talking to Jules and be like, just running off. Yeah, so that for me really works. But the top dog doing obviously gay things and denying being gay. That's it for me.
The Cindy stuff running away is how can you not catch that? Like that's
it's so stupid, but it gets me.
It's so far in front of you. So for me, the what aged best would be just like in general there's I feel like there's two specific types of jokes in this by and large. There's horror movie related ones, and then there's ones that are not. And for me, the horror related ones are the ones that I generally appreciated more. And then outside of those, I mentioned Shorty earlier. I did find him very funny. I know this is a thing that you don't necessarily care for in the same way. And I may be showing your hand a little early, but the "was up" scene, I still do that with my dad. Like we still like answer the phone and like I still like we'll like randomly like I'm like, all right, I got to call him about something, and then he just answers the phone and says it, and I'm like, fuck, I wasn't ready for it. And I'll do the same thing to him. So it's very much like a thing we do.
I liked it. I think it's funny. It's just I think it's a very enclosed joke. If you weren't alive or around for those times, so say if a 23-year-old is going back and watching this for the first time, that might not hit for them. They're like, I never saw the commercial. I don't get it. So not for me personally, but the times, the jokes that really date the movie, that really set it to a certain time and period. That's what I think. Like it literally doesn't age well because if you didn't see the commercial, you don't get the joke.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Okay. In that sense, I completely agree with you. But from people who get it still, I still very much get enjoyment.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree too. And then he's like, I'm just chilling, killing. Yeah. True.
Yes. Yeah. And Shorty and there, like it was like there's I greatly enjoyed Shorty. He was a good time. Like it still is a good time for me.
Oh, yeah. He's using jumper cables as roach clips. The guy's an innovator.
Yeah.
And Brenda's like, the news is always just looking for the most ignorant person around to interview. And then it cuts right to Shorty.
Yep. And it's second time.
Run, bitch, run.
Cops and now this.
Yeah. So no, he definitely does have some good scenes in there. All right. So I'll let you lead off here. Where again, you did the lower of the two scores. What do you think aged the worst from this movie?
There's pretty much anything that's like a non-horror related joke. Like there's a lot of stuff that just like with the times, like 2000, like when we talk about like the aughts, like that was like the end of like comedies or whatever. I think comedies had been forced to go to evolve in a lot of ways. And I think you look back at this, and while you still find stuff funny, there's stuff for me that, in fairness, I don't think I generally ever found all that funny that's in this movie. And I now find it even less funny as I hear some of it. So like, I know like the chief scene like that is not that's not a horror related joke. However, that's like an exception for me in the course of all this, where it's like, this is so blatantly ridiculous that I find this funny. Some of the other stuff I'm like, yeah, like, no, I'm all set. And without tearing down the movie, like it's pretty obvious some of the stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I can see where the disconnect is. Obviously, like the Miss Man scene might make people feel uncomfortable. I think that's kind of the point of the scene. You got a big ball sack that's falling out of her tennis skirt.
I forgot about that.
Down by her knees. It's like pretty ridiculous.
That was a surprise.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty funny. But, it does. She starts rubbing Cindy's shoulders. They get a little bit closer. So I can see how that can make people a little bit uncomfortable. Some of the word choices around to describe Special Officer Doofy might make people uncomfortable there. But again, I think he's a star of the show. So I think it's all just propping them up, right? Or propping him up in that matter. But so I can see where that maybe turns people off a little bit. But for me, it's just all humor. So it's not meant to really hurt anybody. It's all everyone's fair game in this movie here. So
where Doofy is one of the things that it's for me like doesn't age well. I will say the turn of the what is it, Usual Suspects reveal? I still do think like that's like awesome. like
It's a nice little surprise because it's actually like it's a nice little reveal there because I don't think anyone really sees that coming.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like it's for this movie. Like again, this movie's like primarily a spoof on Scream, which is like all over the place in itself. This is even more all over the place, but it still kind of has like this like loose plot in the background to tie it together like that. I was just like, wow, yeah, that was you still like you don't get me anymore, but I'm still like impressed when I see it now.
Yeah. But you brought up something there that raises a good question. I think. Do you think this movie is more of a spoof on Scream or I Know What You Did Last Summer?
Scream. Well,
It's kind of close if you think about it there, though, because
yeah.
obviously you got Ghostface, you got the opening scene with the Drew Barrymore, Carmen Electra, um, but you kind of have a lot of things. Again, the what are you waiting for? The death of the guy and how they get rid of the body is all I Know What You Did Last Summer. A
Mhm.
lot of the scenes in the of Greg in the locker room there and his death and the whole
Okay.
baby dick photo. That's I Know What You Did Last Summer. So there's like a lot of crossover there.
Yeah, but then I think I can like point to equal amounts Scream if where it's
Sure.
the amount of people that are the main cast in this. Like Doofy is obviously and Gale. What was it? Hailstorm
I
or
think it's hailstorm or thunder hailstorms. Yeah.
Hailstorm. Thank you. And then the like you have the scene at the end where it's the reveal of the killers, although in the
Hmm.
end they're not the killers.
Hmm.
The scene with like where she's like her relationship with Buffy, where they're at her house, and then the killer calls, like, and then Doofy comes in the room later, like all like this. So yeah, it's and
I
they
might
even make a
say
comment on it.
60-40 Scream.
Yeah,
I
that's
feel
probably
like
fair.
that might be right. Because then you also have like Cindy's father who goes away right in the beginning, right? That's a big Scream
Yes.
thing, right?
Well, and also, like, I might even give more of an edge than that because Shorty so much as mentions Scream in the movie. He's like, I feel like this is all like straight out of a movie, and they're like,
Hmm.
what is it? And like, they're asking him questions about it. Like, no, it's Scream. Like he basically says, like this, we're like ripping off
Oh,
Scream.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Um, Let me see. But some of the things that aged the worst here. So I got us
yeah.
derailed a little bit. So you mentioned some of the scenes that were the most rewatchable as Shannon Elizabeth's death, right? Buffy, I think is her character's name.
Yes.
That for me gets a little out of place. It just feels weird to me because it's like just them two, and I feel like they just threw that in almost retroactively. But
Hmm.
her snapping her shin might be the grossest part of this movie.
Yeah,
And they
that's a
chop her
lot.
head off right after, but I still think the shin is the
No,
grossest part.
no, there's something about like a bone breaking like out of the skin like that. That's like particularly Yeah, particularly gruesome. It's
Mhm, mhm.
yeah, I'm like so where I bring it up, it's like it's most rewatchable because I do appreciate like the commentary that's in there, but like at the same time, yeah, maybe it wasn't fair to put that in most rewatchable because you know what's coming with the leg break and it's just so tough.
Yeah. And it
But
gets like and again, this is kind of what the movies does anyway, but it's like they just push it one line too long, maybe 30 seconds too long in the scene. They really push the joke to its extremes. You know what I mean? So at a
oh
certain
yeah.
point, it's like, oh, I get it, which you could say about it almost every scene in this movie. But for some reason, that scene, that one got me there.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Thinking about it again.
Greg just choking out or abusing Cindy any chance he gets. He's like a real hothead, and I like how um, aggressive and loud and over the top he is. Like when he gets his report card and it just says all F's with a
Yeah.
dumbass stamped on it, and he's just like, "Oh god damn it!" And he's like, just like gets so mad. He's like, I think that's kind of funny. That works, but this is just like, all right, what are we doing here? And the white trash guy just lets it happen. It happens right in front of him. He doesn't do anything
Yes. Well, okay. So I generally agree with you on all of that. Like I agree with you on
because he's like
what's
body slamming her by the end of it, right? It's like not even, he's like doing elbow drops.
Yeah, I'm trying to Drew. So I generally agree with you on your stance of Drew. I generally agree with you on this whole thing with Greg. I do think was it so Lachlan Monroe. I think he does a great job in general. What I will say about this bit is that like I'm like the second time made me laugh is that Drew at like by the very end says, "You're hurting her. Stop."
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
wait
yeah.
a minute. Where was this like 30 seconds ago? What's the matter with you? So like that was like, okay, that's about it for me.
Yeah, and then we already talked about this, but the Budweiser "What's Up" commercial, it's a time and place sort of joke where if you're not at that time and place, you're just not on the inside there. So
100%. Yeah, no, that's
um,
very well put.
I like the joke. It works for me because again, this whole movie just brings back nostalgia from my teenage years. So that joke is just like a microcosm for the movie for me overall.
Yeah,
But
no, it's
if you're
funny.
not there, you're not going to get it, right?
Yeah, that's good, really good point.
Who had the best performance by a side character?
So this is where we always have this is the toughest category for us whenever we do this shit.
Mhm.
But like Shorty, he's part of like you're the poster that you have as your background right now. I
Mhm.
mean, obviously Marlon Wayans is like a character that like his character is somebody that people care about deeply in this movie.
Memorable from this movie, yeah.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it. Thank you. But is he like he's not part of the main group? So
Mhm.
is he a side character? Is he not? If he isn't, then he gets my vote. I mean, if he is, he gets my vote. But if he isn't, then I go with the police chief.
Well, yeah, so it's 5, the main cast of 5 or 6 people. I'm trying to look in the back of my screen. They don't even have Brenda in here, but they have Carmen Electra, which is weird. And Regina Hall went on to probably have, maybe aside from Anna Faris, like the best acting career out of all of them. Like she was in a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I was surprised not to see her on there. But anyway, yeah, I would agree. He's kind of like, I don't know, B level character. He's not an A character in this by any means, but I think it works. I think Shorty is on the short list for best performances by a side character. I'll allow it.
Okay, all right, but then if not him, who's your pick? Because his police chief is mine.
The police chief is up there. I want to give an honorable mention to Cindy's dad, who comes in very quickly in the beginning of the movie, and he's like, "Oh, my fat head gets stuck in the door," and then she's got to help push the head out, which I think is very funny. And he speaks like this very lovable dad, but he's like a big time cocaine dealer.
Right?
He's like, "I left a little something for you in the coffee can," and it's like cocaine, but he's like, "Remember, step on it." And use baking powder, not baking soda, because you use baking soda, then everyone will get all mustaches in their nose, mushrooms in their nose. So
yes.
like, you love that joke since you were 6 years old. Like, so he's like a very loving father, but just like a real piece of shit at the same time.
Yes.
So that works for me. Sherry O'Terry as Gail Hailstorms, I think, is fantastic. As the news anchor, when she's trying to get Cindy to talk after leaving the police station, she's like, "Cindy, your ass looks fat," and then the whole interaction between her camera guy and him is really good. He's like, "I'm sorry, Miss Hailstorm. I just touched the top of the breast. It was so tender and juicy. I'm sorry." And Gail has Gucci shoes. You can't step on them. And it's like all that stuff is really good to me. And then of course the relationship, I'll say, between Gail and Special Officer Doofy is really funny. She starts like sucking on his finger. You just see like the look of disgust enter her face as she's like, what's on his finger? And if you watched earlier, that it was just up his ass the whole time, right? So it's probably still got ass remnants on it. But for me, the police chief is up there, but I think it's Special Officer Doofy. I think he's the star of this movie. Everything he says is hilarious. We were like, my friends and I would repeat everything that he says, like growing up in school and everything. And when they finally leave the police station, and Drew, or Shannon Elizabeth's character, right? That's Drew, and Cindy are having a little sleepover after the fact, and then the killer calls and it's like, "You got the wrong guy." And Doofy comes out with the vacuum cleaner and he just picks up the phone like, "Hello? Hello?" And no one's there. I don't know. That kills me every time. And he's like, "I told you not to disrupt me when I'm cleaning my room." Very, very good stuff. So I would probably go Special Officer Doofy, Gail Hailstorms, police chief, Cindy's dad. That's probably my order for me.
The one thing I wanted to circle back on was Gail Hailstorm when she gets popped in the face, like, "Your ass looks fat." I was like, oh, because again, I just watched Scream recently, so as they're coming out of the station, I'm like, what's she gonna do here? Because it doesn't seem are they gonna have the same like book thing that was going on with Courtney Cox in that movie, and then it's like, nope, no, she just your ass looks fat.
Yeah. Yeah, and then even when they're having the press conference with the police chief, and they're like, "Have you considered so and so as a suspect?" And he's like, "How do you know that? That's classified." And then Doofy just comes up to the mic, "Hi, Gail. Gail swallows."
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's like, oh man, just releasing her sources right off the bat there. So I think that's good stuff. All right, as we're getting up here to the end, who lost the movie, Nick?
I'm curious why the heck you have Shorty on this short list, because I'm like, because my thing is like this is tough because like so much stuff doesn't age well. Like I don't know how to for me, I don't know how to like I can't say like, oh, the Wayans brothers, because like no, like they made their money, it did well, and it's like again, it's still like it might be the peak of for our generation of spoofs, but like who's the loser then? Like time? I don't know.
Time, yeah.
So how is Shorty on your list?
Well, Shorty's on my list just because I don't know, the stoner guy just kind of gets like it doesn't really do it for me. That may sound contradictory coming from me, however, the blatant just like stoner mentality, I don't know, like a lot of those like weed jokes don't really do it for me.
Huh? There are definitely times where I've seen it in like cinema and stuff like that, or shows like where it just doesn't do it for me, but he does. I don't know why.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I think one of the lines that he says that I love, he's like, "We got." I think it's when the car breaks down, or when he rolls up on the murder scene, and he's like, "I got blunts, wraps, bongs, papers, bowls, everything you need," right? And then he goes on a little bit further there, but that's a great line that really gets me. He has a couple funny lines.
The Roach clip too, like you said.
The Roach clip is funny, or it's like when he gets off the school bus and him and Brenda. Right, I think that's their brother and sister,
yes,
if I'm not mistaken, right? If I remember that correctly. And he's like, your mother, or something like that. He's like, it's your mother too. Well, your daddy. I ain't never met him. And it's like, that's all right. That's fine. That's kind of good back and forth. So he does have some good stuff, but I think if I was kind of struggling to come up with anything else, because there is a lot that I love about this movie. But I think the real loser is Greg and his baby dick.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
That's the tough. He's way over the top. He has some funny lines, but he's just like way extreme. But I do love that scene of him getting exposed with the baby dick in the shower, and then he passes it around to all his friends, and they're laughing.
Yeah, he's like,
why he would do that. His girlfriend's laughing at him as if she didn't see it. Like she hasn't seen it before.
That there's quite a bit of confusion for me on that one. It's like, what are you doing?
And then Cindy goes, "It's okay. We got one like that too." And he's like, "What, does John have a baby dick too?" And he's like, No. I got a letter." He's like, "Oh man." He's like, so that's kind of funny, but you know, you feel bad for anyone with a baby dick.
Yeah,
my heart goes out to him. That's a big loser out there because he's got all those muscles. You know, he's supposed to be a handsome man, an athlete.
Sure,
but he's got that. You know.
It's almost like
he doesn't have it down there
on people like that.
It could be. It could be. That's a good point there. I do like that. So he's a loser for me though, almost by default.
Yeah, I'd say that's actually pretty fair.
Now, do you have a winner of this movie?
No, I don't either. Like, I mean, I guess it's the Wayans brothers because they made bank on this thing.
There we go.
They made an absolute killing on this thing. I mean, that is an insane return on investment, and then they got more movies out of it. So I got to imagine, and I would imagine some of them did pretty. Scary Movie 2 had to have done well too. And again, if you're getting 3 and 4, like, you know, it can't just be the one that was doing well monetarily.
No, I agree with you there. I think for me, Special Officer Doofy has an Ichiro Suzuki like performance where he wins Rookie of the Year and MVP for this best performance by a side character, and winning the movie overall for me there. I think he comes in with a lot of bang for your buck. He comes in with a lot of heat right off the bat. But then he also has to turn at the end, which Nick mentions. The whole thing was a ruse the whole time, a la The Usual Suspects. So that works for me. I think everything comes around. And then the whole movie, again, it's kind of about him.
Yeah.
Very interesting stuff.
So I'm looking, I just pulled up Box Office Mojo really quickly. So I guess there's only 5 scary movies.
Okay. Maybe some got straight released to DVD though, because I feel like there might be 6 or I don't know. Whatever.
Okay,
Doesn't matter.
But all the first number I'm seeing for Scary Movie actually is more aligned with your domestic one, but your domestic number was 157. Is that right? Yeah,
Yeah, I think so. I
domestic.
gotta
So
scroll up
it's
here. Yep.
saying that as the lifetime gross. That'd still be a crazy return on investment, so it doesn't really matter. But that's what
Hmm.
it's saying here. So then there was actually a significant drop to Scary Movie 2. It made half as much, 71 million. But then Scary Movie 3 made 110, and then Scary Movie 4 made 90. And then
Interesting.
Scary Movie 5 was the biggest drop off, and that came out in 2013. So probably past the era of where you could get away with
Past its
like,
prime. 13 years of getting one movie series out, you know?
yeah,
Good for
no,
them.
that's pretty that's pretty insane. But and again, like I'm sure like some of the budgets were higher than the first one, but I still feel like they gotta have done pretty well, like
Yeah.
return on investment
Yeah,
wise.
yeah.
Um, I'm surprised by Scary Movie 2, and that actually came out the next year. The Scary Movie 2, like
Oh,
right
so they flipped that pretty quickly.
yeah, maybe it was it had a $45 million budget for Scary Movie 2, so they didn't even double. No, but that's still. They didn't double it, but they came close. 71 million, 90 million. So they probably just broke even on that second one.
Yeah, and I wonder how
Huh.
many, if that 1.5 rule is true for some of these like lower budget, smaller movies. I remember the advertising being around. I remember seeing commercials for both of those movies
Hmm.
on TV and stuff like that. But I wonder if it's as much, or if like again a movie like Killers of the Flower Moon, which just came out this week. Like, does that have the same amount of marketing put into it as Captain Marvel, or some of the
Hmm.
MCU, or the Flash movie, for example, where that marketing is like really pushed down your throat. You
Right.
know what I mean? So I wonder if it is like, if that's just a general rule of thumb, or is that the max 1.5
Yeah.
on the high end, and then something a little bit lower for a movie like this, or a more of an indie film.
That is a fair point. And then also with Scary Movie 3, it looks like it had the same budget, so they made a pretty good killing. And again, the
Mhm.
numbers that I was seeing are the number you purported as the domestic. So maybe
Okay, so
a little off.
the 278 there, really? Because I could have sworn that I was on Box Office Mojo there too. So
Who knows?
maybe I got some fake news there.
well, but my point is that either way, like they
It
did
did well,
done well. Yes, it seems like
better than you would have thought going into it.
it seems like Scary Movie 5 was the only like outright like loss of the bunch.
Hmm.
So
Okay, all right. Well, that has it there for the Scary Movie spooky spoofy review. Nick gave it a 50. I gave it a 91. It's a CMM aggregate score of carry to 370.5 there. So that's a big discrepancy. Usually we're right in the middle, and I can just choose the number in between us to do that. But this one took a little bit more of a little more thought there. So 70.5, which is probably where it should be. It's probably not as bad as 50. It's definitely not as good as 91, but
yeah,
70 feels right.
I think when you factor, I think if you if you factor in like what it was at the time and then
Mhm.
where we are now, I do think that actually does make sense.
Yeah, yeah. So that feels right there. So that's available as well as a couple other of the scary movies on Max right now. So go check that out before spooky season is over.
What's your